Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Morgan, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Good morning to each and every one of you. It is Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. This is where we are. We are now in October 1st. And today we're facing some really challenging times as a direct result of some things that happened yesterday. I am going to start though with my morning motivation because I'm telling you I just have to. There's so much going on. I don't know what else we can do other than to continue to motivate ourselves the best way we know how. Um, we are going to be all right. Let's see. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. Let me see. This was written years ago again. The more we give, the more we receive. Go bless someone in your travels today. To change a headlight bulb on my old car cost almost $300. I'm going somewhere with this. In preparations for funerals, which require travel, I dropped my car off to my favorite mechanic for some maintenance, which included an oil change, light bulb replaced, fuse changed, tires rotated, and an alignment. I laughingly said to the mechanic after he hailed me up in glee to keep my costs within reason, jumped into a friend's car, and left. When I returned, they were just finishing up, and I asked what my costs were. He said zero. He also said, Merry Christmas. All I heard was zero. As I stood there looking at him while still trying to pay him, he gently said, Let me tell you something. I miss seeing you because you brighten my day with your energy. But even better, your sons show up here, are so polite, takes good care. Oh, my one son. I know which son he's talking about. Your son shows up here, is so polite, takes good care of his car, and I watched him finish college and is working while I'm realizing mine was so spoiled he's barely getting himself together. Watching him tells me what you put into him and his brother. You treat everyone well here. I have had cancer twice. And you always uplift me just by showing up with a smile. Not only am I doing this for you, if you ever need your car worked on and you have no money, bring it anyway. I will fix it. Merry Christmas, Andrea. Keep spreading joy. We need it. Well, Jesus, if that wasn't a testimony, my mama is so right. Kindness and good manners will open doors one cannot begin to fathom, and I am so grateful. This is and he's still a mechanic, but because of the tank that I drive now, which he calls the tank of the fleet, he tells me to take it to the dealership because it's under warranty, blah, 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 blah. But I remember when I first met Vinny, in 2014, I had dropped off my 2015, I dropped off my husband's car, and he saw my car and he said, I'd like to work on your car. He said, how many miles are on it? And I said, you don't even want to know. It had 100 and something miles on it. He popped the hood and he checked the oil, and he said, how often do you change your oil? I said, every 3,000 miles. He said, your oil engine is still red with 100 and something thousand miles on your car. You're really taking good care of your car. Let me, allow me to. And so I would go, and I would, when my sons would come in from college, or the one son who was going to Temple at the time would bring his car to be looked at. Vinny would do it. If he didn't have enough money, he would call me and say, Mom, I need an extra $20, or Mom, I need an extra 10, whatever. And I would go down there and not paying attention to any of this stuff until the day just before Christmas, when Vinny rotated my tires, changed my oil, gave me an alignment, all the things. And you remember me saying to change the bulb on that car was $300 at the time. And so he started sharing with me all the things that I had been doing, just showing up there and talking to people and loving on people. And every time I would go, the men would say, I have never seen him behave like this with anybody else. Or my friend Leah, before she died, she had an oil leak in her Subaru. And she called me, she said, Andrea, I can't deal with Vinny. Vinny is so rough, Vinny, da, 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 da. And I said, all right, I'll go with you. So I picked her up when I got her, and to take her to hear what Vinny had to say. Vinny saw me, said, Andrea, And she looked at me and said, well, I'll be damned. And he said, this your friend? And her cost went down like exponentially. And she looked at me and he said, it's because, and he was telling her, how he had come to love on me, etc., etc. If my husband wanted his car fixed, he wouldn't go. He would send me. It was so funny. But the moral of this story is choose kindness always, not because of anything someone may be able to do for you, especially in spite of they are not being able to do anything for you, right? And so this is the life. This is the life. And this, my dearly departed mother, today's October 1st. In 8 days will be her birthday. I am not looking forward to it, but my friend Margaret and her mother are going to come in on my mother's birthday to spend some time with me. So I'm grateful for that, right? But choose kindness. Always choose kindness, even when you feel you're wronged and people have not. The very least you can do is say hello, good morning, how are you doing? Always, always choose kindness, because people are watching us and seeing what we say and do all the time. And so I am there. This is where I am. And I've been saying this to you, even in the background here, it says, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. It says it all the time. So you all know that I'm not just saying it. This is how we live. And that was from my mother, who said, no matter how many degrees you have, no matter how smart you think you are, it is good manners and treating people well that'll open doors for you that no man can shut. And she imparted that to us. She left it here. And I'm telling you, it absolutely is the key to living a life well lived, because we all run into issues from time to time, and your kindness to others over time will be the ones that will turn around and help you. The other side of that, though, is if you're not kind, that will show up when you're running into trouble too. People will not show up for you. You'll be wondering where everybody is, but you don't realize in the moment when you're being unkind that people are looking at you going, yeah, no, I'm not trying to. So we can fake it, or we can literally take the time to put some good energy into who we are and to treat people well at all times. Okay. I'm going to leave that there because a lot has going on in this country in the last 24 hours. On Sunday, I sent out to a small group of people a 42-minute video. And in that video, the person spoke of the military being crippled and that it was coming soon. And sure enough, that was Sunday. Yesterday was Tuesday. The president of the United States met with the military. And so I want to read some of this to you. Lord have mercy. So NJ.com, True Jersey wrote this. You're fired. Trump sends dire warning ahead of meeting. Lawrence Froza and New Jersey Advanced Media for NewJersey.com wrote this. President Donald Trump defended Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's rare decision to summon U.S. military generals from around the world to a meeting about spirit on Tuesday. Trump said despite there being a little bit of expense, it is worth it summoning generals to the Pentagon to listen to Hegseth and himself speak about military culture. He also warned ahead of his speech that he will fire generals on the spot if he does not like them. But these are our generals, our admirals, our leaders, and it is a good thing. A thing like this has never been done before because they came from all over the world, and there will be a little bit of expense, not much, but there's an expense to that. We don't like to waste it. We'd rather spend it on bullets and rockets, frankly, Trump told reporters before departing on Marine One to give remarks at the Pentagon. And so, there is that. Let me... there's a live thing here that I cannot play because it takes too long. So let me read one article from NPR. So I just want to make sure. National security. President Trump defended the use of U.S. troops in America's cities and told top U.S. commanders that the military would be used against the enemy within. This is going to be a big thing for the people in this room because it's the enemy from within, and we have to handle it before it gets out of control. Trump told those gathered for the highly unusual event in Quantico, Virginia. It won't get out of control once you're involved at all. Essentially, what the president of the United States says is he's using the military on U.S. citizens, and he wants them to get on board with him. If they don't believe what he's saying or disagree with him, they will be fired on the spot. Trump said he told Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth that the U.S. should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, a reference to the Democratic-run cities that he has long said have high crime rates that make them uninhabitable. Um, the nearly 150-year-old Posse Comitatus, I think I said that wrong, Comitatus Act limits the use of federal troops in law enforcement activities on American soil, with some exceptions and loopholes. Trump also talked about the deployment of National Guard troops to Chicago and Portland, Oregon, where state leaders are challenging his authority to deploy troops without a request from the state. Trump and Hegseth, who also spoke Tuesday, reiterated to the top U.S. military commanders the reason the administration had renamed the Department of Defense the Department of War. The name change reflects far more than a shift in branding. It's really a historic reassertion of our purpose, our identity, and our pride, Trump said. Hegseth, who has made a warrior ethos central to his view of the military, said the purpose of the department would exclusively be war fighting, even as he told U.S. adversaries not to test the country using vulgar military slang, FAFO, to describe what would happen if they did. Hegseth said the newly renamed Department of War had lost its way and became the woke department, and added, to ensure peace, we must prepare for war. He made fitness a key part of his remarks and announced that anyone wearing the uniform will take the physical test twice a year and pass height and weight requirements, including generals and admirals. You heard what I just read. Now tell me what you thought about that, right? And then this happened at midnight. Much of the federal bureaucracy is now officially dark. This was written by Politico staff. The government shutdown that began yesterday is set to furlough food inspectors, park rangers, and millions of other federal workers in Washington and across the nation. Some are only heading to their offices for a few hours to undertake orderly shutdown activities. The federal courts and some government agencies like the IRS have enough money to run with for a short time, burning through their reserves of taxpayer funds until the hourglass drains their cash completely. But others have already shuttered for everyone not deemed essential by their agencies. While Social Security checks, mail, and student loan bills and funds for Ukraine will still be delivered, millions of workers are set to suffer financial hardship, at least among those who still have jobs after months of deep staff cuttings and a deferred resignation program. And then there's Donald Trump. The president presided over the nation's longest government shutdown during his first term, and it didn't turn out to be an obstacle to him returning to the White House. A shutdown now presents him and his budget chief, Russ Vought, ever eager to test the limits of executive authority, with a fresh means of wielding even more control over the federal workforce and spending. Last week, the Office of Management and Budget directed agencies to develop plans for firing employees if a shutdown happened. The White House did not respond to a request for comment. Federal workers traditionally get back pay when shutdowns end, but contractors and others whose businesses depend on the federal government won't. Overall, the economic consequences of a shutdown will rest on how long the standoff lasts. If you're making plans to visit the magnificent national parks, you're good to get in. Just don't expect to see many, if any, staff clearing trails or cleaning toilets. The Interior Department, which oversees the National Park Service, is keeping park roads, lookouts, trails, and open air memorials open during the shutdown, according to the agency's latest contingency plan, but it's also furloughing 64% of the staff while the funding impasse persists. For those of you who are flying, Jesus Christ. The agency is maintaining some law enforcement, fire suppression, emergency response, and power maintenance operations at most of the country's 400 plus national parks, while warning that only basic or no visitor services are running. Trump did the same thing when the government shut down during his first administration, a move that resulted in park visitors cutting down Joshua trees, and several former park superintendents hoped he wouldn't do this time around. All right, let's see. The FAA is by far the transportation's For those willing to take a chance and fly, take a deep breath. The FAA is by far the Transportation Department's largest division, and on a normal day houses more than 80% of the agency's employees. A quarter of them are expected to be furloughed. According to a plan released Tuesday, around 33,500 FAA employees will stay on the job during a shutdown because their work is necessary to protect life and property, have salaries paid from accounts not funded with appropriations, or are otherwise needed to comply with the law. But air traffic controllers are working without pay through the shutdown since they're deemed essential workers. The same goes for TSA baggage screeners. More than 1 million people serving in the U.S. military are now working without pay. The Pentagon also can't award new contracts or start new programs. And while commissaries overseas will stay open, they and other services on bases in the U.S. close or are opening on a limited basis. Elective surgeries and procedures in military, medical, and dental facilities get postponed. It is possible that lawmakers pass legislation to ensure active duty troops and Pentagon employees continue to get paid during the shutdown, but troops will miss a paycheck if the shutdown isn't resolved by October 15th. The IRS is keeping all of its employees on the job, at least for now. A shutdown plan released on Monday said the IRS will be able to use special funding that Democrats enacted in 2022 to avoid furloughing any of its almost 75,000 employees for the first 5 business days after a funding lapse. What happens if a shutdown stretches beyond that isn't clear yet. But the administration has good reason to keep at least some parts of the IRS well staffed. The agency is in the midst of implementing tax provisions from the new GOP domestic policy law, such as tax deductions for tips and overtime pay, that is hoping will give Republicans a boost in the midterm. Lord have mercy. Federal employees supporting Medicare, Medicaid, and other mandatory health payments keep working unabated. So will HHS employees who respond to public health and natural emergencies. But overall, the Department of Health and Human Services is furloughing some 40% of its employees just a few months after weathering particularly deep staffing cuts under Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The National Institutes of Health, the planet's biggest public funder of biomedical research, is furloughing 3/4 of its staff. The Department of Veterans Affairs is not being hit like many other agencies due to appropriations already awarded by Congress. Benefits checks will continue to be processed, and medical appointments at VA's health centers won't be interrupted. But officials are shuttering several support phone services, including the GI Bill hotline, until the funding impasse is resolved. Regional VA benefits offices will be closed, and public affairs outreach efforts will end. Career counseling and transition assistance programs are also halted. Burials will continue at veteran cemeteries, but department workers will not permanently place headstones or maintain the grounds at those sites. For energy, Trump has made fossil fuel production a top priority of his administration, and he is not letting the government shutdown stop that. While the Interior Department is slashing 2/3 of the staff from the National Park Service and the Secretary's office, workers tasked with processing oil and natural gas drilling permits and coal mining operations are still going to work. The Bureau of Land Management, which oversees millions of acres of federal land, has designated those employees as essential, according to 2 people familiar with the plan. Anyone processing applications for permits to drill, rights of way for fossil fuel projects, and working on critical minerals or coal issues, the people said, who are granted anonymity because they are not authorized to talk to the media. The shutdowns also pauses most enforcement inspections and regulatory work conducted by EPA, slowing the Trump administration's efforts to repeal a suite of climate rules. New air and water permitting gets waylaid as well. So there's all this stuff. So let me just talk about food. What this shutdown will do to food. The Agriculture Department food safety inspectors stationed at the nation's meat and poultry slaughterhouses will remain on the job without a paycheck. The FDA, which oversees approximately 80% of the food supply, will have to triage its preventative food safety work. Wow. Lord have mercy. Lord. And our president just said some millions of acres of land will now be overtaken so that folks can drill. Now, what's going to be accompanied in all of that is some of our parks. You know, he talked about this at the his first presidency when he said we need to, take over some of these parks because there's all these natural minerals and gases and they can push for coal in some of these natural parks. We talked about this in 2017, 18, and 19. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. The nation's top cyber defense agency is getting emptied out during the shutdown, according to a contingency plan compiled in mid-September by the Department of Homeland Security. Less than 900 of the cybersecurity and infrastructure security agencies, around 2,500 personnel, are exempt from furlough. So the furlough comes in the heels of major departures at CISA, where around a third of the employees have left due to DOGE-led cuts this year. My. So here we are. Those are the two things that have been on our minds. And then today there were two hurricanes that we thought were going to collide. They did not collide, but the energy from the both of them are pushing storms up the eastern seaboard. So we will feel it tonight into tomorrow. Thursday is going to be a cold day. North Carolina, where the folks have the Outer Banks houses are being washed away, but no one's really talking about that because there's a government shutdown and the military is being hamstrung and all the things are going on. And I need you all to really, oh God, I've said this 1,000 times, to dig a little deeper than what you have been digging. Don't just regurgitate what you see playing out in the news, because as you can also see, our news agencies are hamstrung. They're being sued if the reporters want to do their jobs. If journalists are quitting, seasoned journalists are leaving because they just don't believe what is happening in the government right now is tenable for them, and they refuse to be a part of not being able to report the news as they possibly can. So what we get in the news now is what we get, right? There are things happening that are not being covered in the news. And while you are focusing on what's happening federally, I need you to focus too on what's happening to where you live locally. Pay attention to what's happening in your local government or not. Pay attention to your local elections that are coming up while we can still pay attention to elections, right? Because if what we heard our president and chief Department of War saying yesterday, they're literally going to be using the military on us in our states and our cities, that we're going to be training ground for whatever it is that they are preparing for. But this was always a thing that they were going to do. It's called military rule. Let's call it what it is. It's called military rule. And so when that starts to happen and we're stuck in our homes, or we have like these spaces where we have to go through to prove we are who we are, then it's going to become a larger issue for many of us. It's a lot. It's a lot. So let me open up some of these comments. I see them here. Ha! Winetta says, I never thought I would see any of this madness. Well, we told you. We kept saying it was coming. Jesus, we kept saying it was coming. But because we're so short-sighted, because if we don't see something, if we say something's happening today and you don't see it tomorrow, we're like, well, you all are just being, overly dramatic. We kept saying this was coming, that the courts were going to be hamstrung. Now the military is being hamstrung. So what are we going to do? What do the people do? And if anyone is protesting around the country, do you see that in the news anywhere? Do you? So for the average person watching what's happening, we're like, oh, the people are cool and quiet and calm about this. I have friends who lived through war, one in Poland, one in Sudan, one white, one black. And both of them, as I was talking to them years ago, say we are literally walking into authoritarianism. And we were just like, oh, this is America. It cannot happen here. That's what I kept hearing. It just cannot happen here. We have checks and balances in place. We have a constitution for a reason. We have 3 branches of government for a reason. While we were saying all of that, there were plans afoot that was happening over and again. And the people that are most impacted are the people who believed that this was about eggs. that the eggs were too expensive. The people who believed that health insurance was under the Affordable Care Act, which they called the Obama insurance, was way too expensive and it was costing them way too much money. Now they're starting to realize that what they thought was too expensive is about to implode, and it's going to get worse, right? Um, it's just a lot. I don't know where David is this morning, Laura. We'll talk to David on Monday about it because I have another guest. I have a guest coming up at 7 o'clock. There's just a lot happening here, and we have discussed this ad nauseum. We have said to you, go look. When I'll never forget. I will never. We like little monikers. I started talking about Project 2025 in 2019. It became the cliche thing to say in 2024. Nobody was paying attention. When I said to them, are you reading? I don't have time to read it. It's 905 pages. Everything that is going on right now was outlined. When I said in January that Black wealth was on the agenda, how can you prove Black wealth is on the agenda, Andrea? Well, okay, all these people are being laid off now. Many of them are in the federal workforce. So as they were going in and snipping and cutting and doing what they needed to do, all these Black women and now Black men. The unemployment rate for Black women is over 6%. The unemployment rate for Black men is 5 point something percent. People are using up all their savings. The houses where Black wealth exists are going into foreclosure. Right. And so all the things that we've been saying is happening, was going to happen, is now happening. Now, can you imagine pulling top military generals from around the world to come and sit in a room to tell them, if you don't like me, I'm going to fire you. If you're too fat, I'm going to fire you. This is a military for white men, Pete Hegseth said. So we really don't want any women, transgender, LGBTQ people, or Black folks in the military. And we're just sitting on here just talking about it like, let's have oatmeal for breakfast this morning. And I still don't believe the average American citizen understands what's in front of them. Right? Every mayor of every city gets a briefing every day. They know what's in front of them. There's a reason why they haven't gone into Chicago yet. There's a reason why Philadelphia's name has not been on his lips yet. There's a reason. This city is going to be the grounds where next year all hell just 250th birthday celebration. This city. So I promise you, if we can't get it together, I don't know what to tell you. I truly don't know what to tell you. Let me see what's happening here. Oh my God, there's so much here. You all have been writing. Morning, Shaquilla, Jennifer, Tiffany, too, Marguerite, Bobby. Bobby, I hope you had a great birthday. Laura, Winetta. Marguerite says, yay for the morning motivation. We will be all right no matter what we see or hear. Good morning, Carlene. Good morning, Alexandra. Good morning. Tiffany says, I may be off then. Let me know we can hang. I don't know what that means, Tiffany, because I was reading the article so that you could get a good morning, Viola. Oh my God, this is crazy. Winetta says, I've been saying it's going to be boots on the grounds and it won't be cowboy boots neither. Yeah, well, here we go. Alexandra says, exactly. Marva there's a website that tracks the progress of 2025. And as of to date, it's 80% complete. Yeah, won't be much longer. Good morning, Charmaine. Alexandra says, this city will be the stage for whatever is planned. Absolutely. So that's why we're not on his lips right now, right? And so we're sitting here thinking, oh, Philadelphia is just going to be unscathed. Angela says, good morning. It's stressful and sad. The average person feels like everything is happening all at once. And what can we do? And Angela, that's why we began having the dialogue in months and months ahead of schedule. And we kept saying it's all going to feel like a deluge at some point. And this is where we are, right? The deluge is happening. And we said, while it's peaceful, while you can afford to do certain things, get your food, get your water, fortify your houses, make sure you're going to be all right. excuse me, get your documents in order. We've been saying for over a year. By the time November came, when we all woke up, I knew President Trump became president when I woke up at midnight, the night of the elections, and everything was eerily quiet. I said, well, here we go. Here we go. And so I came on the air and I said, all right, this is what's getting ready to happen. I sang, some BB Winans the morning after, sat with Pastor Waller and had a conversation, about what we are to expect. And folks are just like, well, I'm just, I'm making money. I haven't lost my job. I'm going to be all right. These 300,000 women don't impact me. So I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be, I'm just going to keep living my life the way I've been living my life. And that is just not the way we're going to be able to do things moving forward. And so if we don't figure out how we're going to navigate, then I don't know what's going to happen. Right. It's a stressful time. Let me see, because I don't see my guest. Alexander says he's going to use the 250th celebration here in Philadelphia as his stage for whatever is planned. Yep. So I'm just looking to see if I got I still don't see my guest. So I'm just making sure that he's okay. Oh, Neil. So here we are, right? There's just so much going on. Let me see if I can. It's a lot, y'all. Give me 1 second. So yeah, I'm just trying to. Oh, there he is.
Hey there. Good morning.
Listen, you're going to have to be the person that makes us all happy this morning because, government shutdown, military being told what to do, 100,000 people, furloughed yesterday, all the things. And I have been looking forward to interviewing you because Dr. Victory.
Correct. Yes.
he was aligning me. He said, you gotta meet this dude. So LaKim James, LaKim James was born in Kingston, Jamaica and raised in Queens, New York. At the age of 22, he started his first company, which he grew to over 3.5 million by the age of 29. That same year, he chose to retire from the industry after realizing he no longer enjoyed who he was serving. That was so critical to me. That who. Throughout his journey of building a multi-million-dollar business in his early 20s, LaKim gained valuable insights, lessons, and clarity on how to help others achieve their best results. Good morning. I'm so looking forward to having this conversation. First of all, wagwan, Yadi.
Wagwan. Yeah. Yes.
Someone said to me years ago, someone that I was working for, said, I go to Jamaica all the time, she says, and I have never seen a work ethic that strong.
Yes.
It is not because we're special people, y'all. It's because we're raised in a space where we don't have the option to fail. We just can't. You either make it work or you don't make it work, right? And so when your livelihood and your very life depends upon what you can or cannot do, we don't feel like we have options. Options are not a thing. We just go ahead and forge and do what needs to be done. It has caused a lot of angst for some people, right? Who say, here they come again. But instead of sucking salt through a wooden spoon, as we like to say, then you just take the things that you can learn from as you're moving forward, because as you try to shut down, we pivot and we pivot and we pivot and we pivot and we pivot. So LaKim, welcome to Mornings with Martha. Tell me a little bit about your childhood, because if at 22 you were starting a business and you were raised in with you, Queens, New York, where were you raised?
Yeah, Jamaica, Queens. Yeah.
So you clearly got Jamaica parents. How old were you? How old were you when you moved here to the United States?
I came to America when I was 5 years old.
5. Okay. Yeah. So you grew up, you basically grew up here.
Exactly.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
How were you raised? What happened to you with you that you believed at 22 you could start a business?
Yeah, no, that's such a great question. So, what you were saying earlier was so spot on because, when you come here from a different country, you have a lot to prove, and you also know that you have everything to gain, nothing to lose, right? Because the alternative is going back to where you're from in Jamaica and living in a different country, So when you come here, you realize that everything that people complain about is nothing but opportunity.
To you, right?
So, yeah, to me, exactly. And to your point, my friends used to make fun of me because it was like, Jamaicans were known for always having two jobs.
At least.
Right, at least two jobs,
Mhm.
exactly. So that was really what I just experienced watching my parents, work multiple jobs. My dad, he is a mechanic at the airport JFK in LaGuardia, and my mom, she's a nurse assistant in New York. So I just watched them, like the work ethic that they had just to like survive. So that instilled the work ethic in me. However, it also made me realize I didn't want to have two jobs to survive
Mhm.
because it looked really hard.
It is hard.
And
Mhm.
yeah. So I learned at a young age that work ethic is what it took or what it was gonna take to separate me,
Mhm.
and it encouraged me and pushed me in the right direction. I think so that was the childhood. So I'll maybe pause there to see if you want me to elaborate. But the childhood was watching my parents go
Mhm.
through that,
Mhm.
and it made me realize immediately work ethic is what it was going to take.
Okay. So let's move on a little bit further. So you realize work ethic was what it was going to take. You get into your teenage years into to 22. What was the business you started at 22 that garnered you $3.5 million at 29?
Absolutely. So it all started just learning leadership skills at a young age, right? So I'm an athlete and student athlete. So I played basketball my whole high school
Mhm.
career, varsity. So I was always that competitive person. It took me to college. I played college basketball. I went to a small Catholic school here in Pennsylvania called Rosemont College. It's
Ah,
right
we
next
know
to
where
Villanova.
Rosemont is. Hmm.
Yeah, yes, yes. So I'm a Rosemont alum, and I studied business in Rosemont. And again, what I realized, and there's a saying that people from New York say, is that if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, right?
Hmm.
And that same kind of demeanor is what I took when I came out here to Pennsylvania. And I made a decision. I made a decision my sophomore year in college that I wanted to get my 4-year bachelor's degree in business, and I wanted to do it in 3.5 years. And people thought that that was crazy, but again, when you're from New
Hmm.
York, when you're from the heart of hustle, in New
Hmm.
York, you just have to separate yourself because there's just so much competition. So long story short, I got my 4-year bachelor's degree in three and a
Hmm.
half years. And in that moment, while I was graduating early, I read a book that shifted my whole career. And the book was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Hmm.
And it was something about that book that shifted my mindset because, again, I'm like, all right, I'm a young black male.
Hmm.
I come from a different country.
Hmm.
I don't come from money.
Hmm.
And I have big dreams. So prior to that, my goal of going into college was I wanted to work for like a big marketing firm. That's kind of what I thought, what success
Hmm.
was.
Hmm.
But after reading that book, Robert Kiyosaki said, in order to become successful, you don't have to come from money. You don't have to know a lot of people. You just have to focus on um, something he called the cop I can't think of the word. It's the four quadrants. There we go. The four quadrants, right? And I never heard of that term before. And he started talking about becoming your own boss. And to become your own boss, it's all based on you. And I'm like, whoa, that's I didn't think that that was possible. I thought in order to become successful, you have to come from money or you have to know people in order to do that. And I knew neither. So
I
that book
hope people are
shifted.
really listening to you. I
Mhm.
really, really, really do. I have seen so many people fight to keep jobs and give their skills away to a company
Yep.
making pennies on what they could make because they say, I don't want it's too much hard work.
Yep.
That thing up here dictates how we move, right? And so when they see other people go, oh, I left this job, I'm just going to start my, let's say, my own media what, you can't start your own media you need this money and you need that money, you need that money, but you don't. So the two things you said so far, work ethic and leadership skills, right? And
Yep.
what was the other thing that you just said about not having to have money?
Yeah. So in order to become successful, you don't have to come from money,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to know other successful people. And I thought that those were the two criteria to
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that from reading that book that it shifted my mind. And I believe in one thing is like once your mind is exposed to something, you can't unexpose it. And I
Yeah.
needed that. So I read that book at the age of like 18 or 19, and it
Mhm,
gave me hope. It gave me belief that like
mhm,
him, you're
mhm,
shooting yourself short. Why are you just aiming to work for a big company when you could offer a lot more to the world?
mhm,
So that inspired me of like, all right, like Kim, go find someone that could invest into you. So at a young age, I was like, I want to be a motivational speaker. But then I found someone that was like Kim, you can't be a motivational speaker until you do something. You have to,
mhm,
what are you going to motivate people on? Like how to go to
mhm,
school, right? And I was like, all right. So long story short, I found a mentor at the age of 19. And I told the mentor, I was like, hey, I'm looking for someone that can teach me what it takes to start my own company. It was like, I think right when I turned 20, excuse me, not 19, 20 years old. And I was like, I'm looking for someone that could invest into me and show me. And I want to learn from someone that could teach me how to start my own company. And I
mhm,
met this guy. He's still pivot. His name is Chris Migner. He's still pivotal in my life till this point. This was
mhm,
almost 11 years ago. And he was running his own sales and marketing firm. And I went in for an interview as an intern, 20 years old, young, energetic. I was very vulnerable in regards to like vulnerable and moldable, right? And I was looking for someone that could invest into me. And he said, look, like Kim, I will teach you all of the ins and outs of what it takes to run and start a company if you're willing to put in the work. And I was like,
mhm,
Chris Migna, I don't think you know me. Like all I have to offer you is work ethic because,
mhm,
at the time I still didn't have my degree because I was
mhm,
completing it
mhm,
and I didn't have any money. So I needed someone to just pour into me. And long story short, he took me under his wing for 2 years, right? Or a year and a half. And he showed me everything. He showed me how to interview people, right? So I'm learning how to interview people at the age of 20 years old. He showed me how to run payroll. He showed me how to train people. He taught me how to
mhm,
do sales. And then he also taught me how to negotiate.
mhm,
And that was the core foundation that I needed. And at the age, so after about a year and a half, so I met him at 20, 20, yeah, around 20, in a year and a half, right after I turned 22, I felt like I had the foundation and I wanted to do my own thing. And he guided me. And
mhm,
at the age of 22, my first company that I started was a sales and marketing company. And my company was called James Marketing Consultants. My last name is
mhm,
James, right? So
mhm,
James Marketing Consultants. And
mhm,
Chris Migner taught me how to negotiate contracts. So my first client that I ever got at the age of 22 was a company called AT&T. And
what?
AT&T, right, was my first client at the
Mhm,
age of 22.
mhm,
And from there, I ran it up. So I was living in King of Prussia. I moved from King of Prussia and I took a leap of faith. One thing that I want to share that I think is so important to make it in business, you got to just take a leap of faith, have blind faith in yourself and the people around you. And I moved from King of Prussia. AT&T said, Lake Kim, would you be open to representing us in Indiana. I'm like, Indiana, where's that? I'm from Queens, New York, right?
Mhm.
At this point in my life, there's only two places I know. Well, three places: Jamaica, like Kingston, Jamaica, where I was
Yes.
born;
Mhm.
New York City, Jamaica,
Mhm.
Queens, and at
Mhm.
this point, Pennsylvania. So those
Yeah.
are the only three places that I knew. And when they said, "Would you be open to move to Indiana?" I was like, I don't even know where is that located, right? Like, I've never heard of that place before.
Mhm.
I've heard of the Indiana Colts or the Indiana Pacers, but
Mhm.
I just never heard of that. So I moved out there, and I was scared. I knew no one in Indiana, and there was two thoughts in my head. It's either I'm going to go out to Indiana and I'm going to fail, and I'm
Mhm.
just going to come right back to New York, right?
Mhm.
Or I'm going to build a multi-million dollar company. And lucky for me, option two is what happened, because I moved to Indiana with 8 employees. So check this out. At the age of 22, I had 8 people leave their lives and their livelihood in King of Prussia and
Mhm.
follow 22-year-old Kim James to Indiana to help me build my company from the ground up. And they trusted me. And remember what I said from the beginning, one thing that I've always been instilled at a young age was leadership. Because a leader, we don't follow the path, we create the path and let others follow us.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's what really gave me confidence. So these people
Mhm.
trusted 22-year-old Lay Kim, and out of the 8 people, 6 of the people were older than me. So again, to trust a young leader with your career, some of them had kids, but
Mhm.
it forced me to believe, like Kim, you can't. This is not just about you anymore. You got people
Mhm.
that's like trusting you to survive.
Mhm.
And and I was really scared. When I said I was scared, I was terrified.
It's not
I
gonna
want
work if you are not frightened out of your mind, I promise you. Yes.
man.
Mhm.
And people say, what do you do if you're scared? Do it scared.
To be scared. Yeah.
Right? And long story short, we took those 8 employees. I grew it from 8 W2 employees. We grew the company to 30 W2 employees. And then we grew the company from $0 in revenue, and we grew it to 3.5, almost $4 million in revenue at that stage.
Mhm.
And my biggest success that I was really proud of in that journey was, there was a pivotal point in my career. It was 2017. I'm living in Indiana, and my mom reached out to me, right? And my mom was like, son, things are hard here in New York. She got hurt. My mom is a nurse assistant. She was struggling.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
at this point in my career, my parents didn't know that I was doing pretty well in business. I had like
Because that's
a
a
good amount.
Jamaican thing. We are taught not to speak about how we are. And your parents will your parents will only know if someone tells them, calls them and said, "Lick him out that tear up the we were, I don't know if it's a thing we were raised to not speak, not go on and show off about the things that we've accomplished and done. Because I was
Correct.
chastised by my parents who were learning from other people. And I said, but you taught us, you raised us that way. It's called bossy and showing off if you talk about these things that you've accomplished. So I believe you when you said they did not know. They did not
Yeah.
know. So mom calls you and says, things are hard here in New York.
Yeah. She said, son, I can't pay the mortgage and I don't know what to do. And she said that she's behind, I think, like a month or two. And everyone who's listening, New York is expensive. It's an expensive place to live. And I was like, so mom, what are you going to do? She was like, well, my credit isn't good. And I don't know what to do. Like, I'm behind a few months on bills, and
Mhm.
I just feel stuck. And I and I have no options. And she said, son, what would you recommend? And I was like, well, mom, I didn't tell you this, but I'm doing pretty good in business right now, and I can help. And then she
Mhm.
said, "Son, no way. Are you serious?" And she was like, "Yeah." Like, I was like, "Yes, mom, I got you. What do you need?" She was like, "Well, um, the mortgage is about $3,000, and we're 2 months behind, so I need $6,000,
Mhm.
and I'm just unsure of what to do." And I said, "Mom, I can do that." Like, at that point, my company was making about $10,000 a week. So for me, that was 1 week of revenue for the
Yes.
company.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
told my mom, what I'll do is I'll wire you the money.
Mhm.
And I felt so blessed that I was able to do that for my mom.
Mhm.
So I say that to say, in 2017, my mom came to me. She needed $6,000. I was able to send that to her, within a few days. And then later that year, she needed a little bit more money, and I sent her another $6,000. So
Mhm.
one of the reason I'm saying that was because I just felt so good. As a child, one thing that you pray to do is to give back to your parents that
Parents.
is
Mhm.
giving you everything. And
Mhm.
to some people, that's not a lot of money. To me, 3 years ago, I was broke. I
Mhm.
had not a dollar to my name. So to fast forward that, 2017, one of the highlights of my career, and there's a lot more, but this one is just because it involved family. I was able to give my mom $14,000
Mhm.
in 2017, and
Mhm.
that made me a very happy son.
And that was a game changer, right? Where a lot of families aren't able to come up with that kind of money. The message that I hear from you, listening to you talk up to this point, is that it only takes blind faith and hard work, a serious work ethic to move things and get them to where they needed to be. And that family, because your parents were there for you to get you to the place where you went to college, family was the crux that helped you to realize that you
Everything.
were able to generational wealth, is what I'm saying. That you started the process of, instead of your parents being put into foreclosure and losing everything they had, you, their son, on blind faith, work ethic, and just really being vulnerable and malleable, was able to help your parents in such a way. Tell me what their thoughts and feelings were when they realized that you were doing well. Because I know Jamaican parents are like, wait, what? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny because my parents was like, "What kind of business is this? Like, is this
Is
like,
it
hold on."
legal?
Right, right. Yes, that's exactly what they were saying. It was like, "Son, like, what? How are you making this much money? Is
Mhm.
this even possible?"
Yeah.
But I was like, "Yes, my client is AT&T, and a lot of people believe in me. A lot of people trust me." And
Mhm.
they were just really proud. They were shocked,
Mhm.
and it just felt good, because that's I
Mhm.
think that's the reason of why we all work so hard, is to make the people that we care the most about proud.
Mhm.
So that, to me, they were shocked at first, and it still took them a little bit of time to get used to it.
Mhm.
Um, but then that happens, and I want to be transparent to the listeners. That was the highlight of my career, right? But if you're okay with it, I'd like to kind of talk about the transition,
Come
because
on. That's all.
in business, I don't want to make this sound like this is just all success,
It
all
is.
flowers and everything, right? So keep in mind, everyone, now I'm at this stage, right? I hit a peak in my career at the age of 24. At the age of
Mhm.
24, I went from being broke,
Mhm.
and I had set a goal that I wanted to see if it was possible to save over $100,000 at the
Mhm.
age of before I turned 25. That was a big
Mhm.
goal that I set for myself.
Mhm.
Long story short, I hit that goal, right? At the age of 24, I had over $100,000 saved.
Mhm.
Everything was going great. I felt amazing. But here's the big thing. Sometimes, right, your success takes you places that sometimes your character or maturity isn't ready for. And at the age of 24, I thought that, like, man, $100,000, I'm rich forever, right? So
Mhm.
when people, you keep in mind, my mom asked me for some money, I gave her money. My business was growing, so I was expanding, putting 5,000, 10,000.
Mhm.
And the tough part of this is, I believe in this one saying, the top of one mountain is the
It's
bottom of the
different.
next,
Come on.
right? So I made all that money at the age of 24. And then what's
Mhm.
crazy is 12 months later, because I wasn't used to that, I lost all of it in
Mhm.
um in within 12 months, because people looked at me as a bank, and I thought that the money was going to flow forever. And
Mhm.
then the next year, I had to shut down some of the locations that I
Yeah.
opened up,
Mhm.
and I grew too fast. Like, I
Mhm.
grew too fast, and I wasn't ready for all of the success that was happening.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when I said
Mhm.
that, that shook me to the core, to make
Mhm.
all of that money and then to lose it the
It's a
next
problem.
year. man, my confidence was shot.
Mhm.
And that was, I think, as a business owner or small business owner, you don't really know how successful you are until you could
Mhm.
rebound from a loss,
Come on.
right?
Lord.
And
Let's say if I could just hug
that,
you up and say, this is a good
yeah,
story.
yeah, thank you. And the next year, when I lost it all, it made me really get true to who I am of my core, and figure out my identity. Because then I was like, all right, Lay Kim, your identity isn't just about how much money you have, right? That's not what I wanted my identity to be. My
Mhm.
identity was the impact, right? The impact that I
Mhm.
wanted to have. So it really shook me, and I had to kind of look myself in the mirror and look my team in the face, right? And say, hey,
Mhm.
because as you're running a company, you can't, let the team know, like, hey, we just lost $100,000 within
Mhm.
12 months. Like, you
Mhm.
can't share that with the team, because as a leader, that's how people would lose faith in
Demoralized.
you.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I just had to kind of get down to the core, and I just had to say, like, Kim, if you could build it one time,
You can do it.
you could build it again. And after I rebounded from that, I sat down with my top employees and I said, hey, this is kind of what we have to do. Some of the locations we shut down. We 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 were feeling the pain of it. And then I started working my way back up the mountain again, right? And then it was awesome. So then we grew the company again. We grew the business bank account again, and then we continued to expand. So
Mhm.
it was that pivotal moment, though, that
Mhm.
pivotal moment of losing it, all of that money,
Mhm.
especially at a young age. It
Mhm.
made me realize, am I built for this? And I just had to really lean on my mentors and lean on the people. So I just continued growing, growing, growing. And then I relocated from Indiana, and then
Mhm.
I came back to King of Prussia. So
Mhm.
remember, the first client I had was AT&T. Because of
Mhm.
how well we did for about a 6 or 7 year window,
Mhm.
Verizon came knocking on my door, and they said, Lay Kim, James Marketing Consultants, we have a lot of respect for what you guys are doing. Would you be
Mhm.
comfortable with representing us? We want your company brand to represent our
Mhm.
brand. And I was
Mhm.
like, whoa, that is awesome. So I
Mhm.
relocated back to King of Prussia. We started to grow the company. But here's the thing now. Now I'm in year 7, year 8, and I'm like, man, the reason I started this company was I wanted to prove to myself, can I build something from zero? Can
Mhm.
I impact people? And within that period, I trained and hired over 3,000 people,
Mhm.
and I had a big impact. But now my big thing that I started to realize, I was no longer enjoying the process of who I was serving. And the only reason why I say that is because the average employee that I was hiring was college graduates, and they were between the ages of like 21 to like
Mhm.
25, 26. And you and all the listeners know this. No one who gets their first job out of college typically stays with that job, right? It's
Mhm.
like your
Mhm.
starter job. So when they work for me, most of these employees, I was their first real job out of college. So I would pour into people, teach them how to dress, teach them how to speak, all of that. But it was like a revolving door. So it was
Mhm.
so hard for me to get people to be great, because
Mhm.
these people, they've never done sales, and I'm teaching them how to do sales. So
Mhm.
the minute they had a tough challenge, they would throw in the towel and say, like, Kim, I can't do this anymore because sales is hard. And I gave it 7, 8 years of pouring into people, but I started to realize it wasn't a good ROI of my time, because
Mhm.
for me to help someone be great, I need them to be 10 toes down.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that was one of the toughest moments in my career, when I looked at my wife and I was like, baby, I think I'm going to retire running this sales and marketing firm. And she
Mhm.
was like, "Baby, why would you do this?
Mhm.
You're only 28, 29.
Mhm.
This is all you know in your careers in your 20s." And I said, "Because I think I have a bigger purpose,
Mhm.
right? And I want to change who I serve." Because when I retired running James Marketing Consultants, it was one or two things. It was one, I either stopped coaching and training altogether, or two, I changed who I serve, right? And
Do
That
you
was a
know how
pivotal
many
moment.
people who would have stayed with that, with James Marketing Consulting, until the wheels fell off the damn thing? Do you know how many people who are just like, I'm here, even when they see the handwriting on the wall? This is, it doesn't feel good anymore. You're getting the knock on your. I think it's time for you to move. So many people are frightened and are unable to do the pivot. So many people.
It 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 was terrifying. It was
Yeah.
because when you start your career, it's like some people, they start a career, they're in their career for like 20, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
One example, and I'm sorry for jumping, but my dad said
Mm-hmm.
something to me that shook me. And my dad, he's worked at JFK
Mm-hmm.
and LaGuardia Airport in New York. He's been there for over 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
He know he's getting underpaid, right? He
Mm-hmm.
know he's getting underpaid. And I said, Dad, why don't you leave? And my dad actually, yesterday was my dad's birthday. He just turned 63.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Dad, why don't you leave? He said, son, if I leave this job, I'm going to have to work for a 25-year-old. And I don't want to do that. And
Mm.
so he rather sacrifice staying with what he knows, taking less money
Then
just
taking the
because,
leap of faith.
man, and working for a younger person, like probably working for someone like myself, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, Dad, you could make New York is expensive. You can't live making, 50, $60,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to understand why my dad wouldn't leave, but
Mm-hmm.
like to you, what you said, people are terrified of,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what the other side looks like.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, I was scared too. But I
Yeah.
knew that if like what I said earlier, if I did it once, I could do it again.
Mm-hmm.
So I made the transition of saying, you know what, I'm going to retire running this company, and I'm going to transition into business coaching and consulting for small business. And the reason of why I picked those are the people who I wanted to serve is because of this. When you're a small business owner, your business is your baby. And when your business is your baby, you will do you'll go to the high highs and the low
Low
lows to make.
lows. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, those are the people that I want to serve because I know they're 10 toes down.
Yes.
So I made that pivot about 3.5 years ago. And what I really realized and what I specialize in now, so I'd love for the listeners to listen to this part. What I specialize in now as a small business growth strategist, all right, running my
Mm-hmm.
own
Mm-hmm.
business and consulting firm for small business owners, is we specialize in helping small businesses that provide a service. So service based small businesses
Mm-hmm.
double their leads, double their sales, and we show them how to do that without spending more money on marketing or advertising. And now those are the people that I love serving. So anyone who's listening to this that provides a
That's how you
service,
end up with Dr. Victory. Because he did,
exactly.
yes.
If you
That's
provide a
amazing.
service, right? That's now those are the people who I love serving, because
Mm-hmm.
when you provide a service, it's all based on your customer experience. It's all based on how you market yourself, and it's all
Mm-hmm.
based on those things. So now
Mm-hmm.
with, I told myself, like, Kim, if you can build a multi-million-dollar company in your 20s, what can you
Mm-hmm.
do for other people
Mm-hmm.
that want to grow and scale? I've gotten the scars, and I can
Mm-hmm.
help people some of those scars.
Mm-hmm.
So that's to your point. That's how I met Dr. Victory. Um, a few people in his network, I'm currently coaching and consulting,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been
Mm-hmm.
watching their business grow, grow, grow.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Victory came to me, and I was like, "Hey, Dr. Victory, as a small business owner, growth strategist, I provide free workshops for local small businesses because I
Mm-hmm.
wanted, when I got into the consulting game, I wanted to become one thing now. I wanted to become a term that I created or I stole from someone, and it's to become a local legend, right? And what is a local legend? A local legend is someone that's known in the community. They're involved, they give back, they're impacting the local community in their field. So what
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to become is a local legend for small business owners, and help as many small businesses like grow and scale as possible.
Yes, Alexandra. Alexandra said there's a certain young man who needs to sit down with this young man. I agree. I was thinking about him. I'm going to connect them. Send your contact information to my producer, please, so that I can connect you with a few people that I do know here. I am actually also very interested in sitting down and talking to you.
Yes.
Um, hmm. A, I'm incredibly proud. B, you've said things that I know are absolutely true because it is what has allowed me to keep pivoting and pivoting and pivoting and pivoting and pivoting. I saw a Jamaican relative I hadn't seen since I was a teenager. I'm almost 60 now. And he said, I watch you. You're, I'm not like your parents. I did not want to work for anybody. Just never
Yeah.
did. My parents thought I was crazy, right? So everything you talked about, the work ethic, the 10 toes down, the being able to pivot, to lose and to gain again, to start all over again and do what you need to do to get where you need to go, and to really invest in yourself. Because the other thing was I never took a bank loan, ever. I just took
Mm-hmm.
the business model, make sure I wasn't paying myself for a while because I'm that interested in making sure that we can do what we need to do, right? And so I never went to a bank and said, can I borrow XYZ? As the money was coming in, it was put aside, invested into the business so that if I needed to do XYZ, then that was what was done, right? I try to explain that to young proteges who are like, nobody's going to give me a business loan. You don't have to, that is not, as you're making the money, you have to be willing to sacrifice and not buy the clothes and not buy the shoes and not spend money where you don't need to spend money so you can invest in yourself. And as you invest in yourself, you'll see your business growing. I really do believe there are a lot of folks you can have. Now we're 7 minutes over time, but I'm cool with it because it's my business. I own this show. Okay. So, so where can people find you for free workshops?
Yeah, so absolutely. So one, you could just go to my Instagram or to my
Mhm.
website, right? So it's lakimjamescoaching.com. And with the workshops, it's a business growth workshop
They
that I
can spell
provide.
your name for them, please.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So first, all right, here's a fun fact. My first name is Lay Kim. And for anyone listening, Lay Kim, the spelling of Lay Kim is actually Michael spelled backwards, right? So if anyone on this call knows a Michael, you spell Michael backwards, and that's how you spell Lakim.
Yes.
So Lakim is spelled Leahh,
CH.
right? Cim. So Leahcim. That's Michael spelled backwards.
Wow.
JamesCoaching.com. Right? So you go on my
Mhm.
website and you'll be able to see the local workshops that I do. I do them
Okay.
in person in King of Prussia because that's where my
Mhm.
office location is. So
Mhm.
in King of Prussia, it's a complimentary workshop. I don't
Mhm.
charge anyone anything for the workshop
Mhm.
because I don't gatekeep the information. In order for me to become a local legend, in order
Mhm.
for me to become a local legend, I give away some of the best business growth strategies complimentary. And what I also do is I have it catered. So I have sponsors that sponsor my free workshop. So I have like food and everything that I give away to everyone. It's completely complimentary, no cost, no anything.
Mhm.
Because remember what I said, my goal is to impact. So I do them like once or twice a month in person, and then I also do one or two a month virtually.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I just love helping. And that's how I met Dr. Victory. He came to a workshop, understood some of the proven growth strategies. And now
Mhm.
I'm watching Dr. Victory's business skyrocket.
I can get an appointment thanks to you. Because look, this is he's completely booked over here and he's actually excellent at what he does, right? Which is
Yes.
important. Like I was, folks, I used to get chastised for allowing small businesses to come on the air and have conversations with me. I understood that if I allow, because that was marketing they didn't have to pay for, right? Give them a leg up. This is just the small businesses. I'm not talking about the huge ones that are making billions of dollars. But if you
No.
give the small businesses a leg up, they will then in turn make sure that everything that and then as they grow, they will remember that you gave it. So to your point, not gatekeeping the information, right? And to give people a chance to grow, some free stuff for them to do what they need to do. This is
Correct.
amazing. This is absolutely amazing. This should have been a podcast episode. So I'm going to have my producer pull this so we can share with more people. because this was good. This was good information. Nick him, when Dr. Victory started, he was kicking my shoulder blade, and he said your name. I said, Lay Kim. He Jamaican? Is he Chinese? Half Chinese? Is he half Chinese? He said, I don't know, Andre. I said, get this brother on here. I need to talk to him. It really, truly was a pleasure talking to you. LayKimJamesCoaching.com. Lay Kim is Michael spelled backwards. Okay. So if you can spell Michael, then you can spell LayKimCoaching.com.
Yeah.
Right. And you'll be able to find him and go sign up for his free workshops and love that. And you get sponsors because people believe in you. Sponsorships don't just come because you're begging for. If you know what you're doing, the sponsors will find you. You don't have to go find them. They will literally support you in what you're doing. So I am super duper proud of you. Tell your parents they did an excellent job because they put good work ethic in you. They may be working their own jobs, but they put good work ethic in you so that you could step up one further from where they have been to do what needs to be done. Do you have siblings?
Yes. So I have 4 sisters and 1 brother.
Ooh, they were fruitful and multiplying.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. And last thing I'll say is I also have a baby on the way coming next week. So I'm about to be a first-time dad.
Is this your first child?
First-time dad. Yes.
Oh, congratulations. When is the baby due?
Next week.
You just don't know what date?
So it's a little complicated, but my wife, they said that she's going to be induced on Friday. We're going to figure out when she's going to be induced and take a wild guess of, so we're having a boy and his name is going to be Kingston.
They're saying congratulations. Oh, wow. It's amazing. It's amazing. So listen, I kept asking you what date next week because next week is my mother's birthday. It's October 9th. So if Kingston's born on October 9th, then he's going to be something to behold. And everything that you have, huh?
No, I love that because then it'll just show a stronger connection between us. If the birthday aligns, oh man, this is a sign.
I know, right? Just share with the folks. You are an example that I keep sharing over and over again on this platform about what is possible if we're willing to put in the work. What is possible if we're willing to fail and start all over again? What is possible if we're willing to be vulnerable and to learn? What is possible if our work ethic is so strong that even when it doesn't look like anything, we're still pushing and pulling and doing what needs to be done? What is possible when we get solid mentors and are willing to be vulnerable and to listen? You cannot constantly push back on people as they're trying to tell you, well, after all, no. People who don't listen, people who do stuff like that, I'm like, you just wasted an hour of my time. I don't say anything. I just leave them alone, but I don't engage again, right? Because in my head, there's so much happening here. If I'm giving you something and I'm telling you, what you asked for, then take the tips that I'm giving to you, because anybody else, a marketing strategist, will charge you thousands of dollars for what I gave you for free. You understand what I'm saying? Correct. And so this is the work that we need to do with each other. I am so incredibly. So you're now 33? 32. So yeah, my oldest son is 1 year older than you and did some of the same things. Some of the same things, and working through our business strategy that he has. Now, I think I may put the two of you together too, because he has a whole head twins. Twins. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, mommy, what am I going to do? But this is exactly what we've been talking about. And when we keep saying Black men are not able to, and we keep saying Black boys can't, this flies in the face of everything that we've been saying. And there's so many more of you out here, Lay Kim, so many more. But we don't give it air. We don't give it publicity because we believe in the fallacy that Black men can't do and can't be. And you're doing it with a humility that I love, because the arrogance that comes with some of us is so, it's not sustaining. People, you build a brand, but your brand is built on being an asshole. Who does this?
Mm-mm. That's not good business. Not good business.
No, not at all. So when people go, well, how is that one making it? And I've been here for 5 years longer. I've been here for 15 years longer. Why is she able to do what I can't do? It's your character. Those core
Mm.
values mean a whole lot, right? But you can want to be, well, I'm qualified and I went to this school and I went to that school, but you're an asshole. And
Correct.
people don't want to work with people who are nasty and subversive and don't know how to talk to folks. So it makes a difference, makes a whole difference. I am so grateful. Yeah, Charmaine, she says our color scheme is matching today. I have never worn this dress before. I'm sliding through my closet and I was like, let me just put this on. Fate,
You-
kismet,
That's right.
kismet,
Yep.
right?
And one thing I want to say is I believe, you're achieving the same thing in your industry of becoming a local legend as well. Because Dr. Victory, the way he spoke about you and what you and your team are doing, I'm like, I would love to speak to your
Mhm.
audience, because
Mhm.
I just have a lot of respect, and I love local legends that are in their own field doing their thing. And super
And
excited
not
to meet with
competing with anybody. You know,
you. Mm-mm.
people are like, well, you have to have a certain amount of likes. I'm like, no, I am deliberately building this thing with intention so that
Correct.
when it shines, it's in a space where folks, I was just telling them yesterday, I had to put out $20,000 in equipment, right? And I didn't borrow that from a bank because I was investing in myself. So as the money came in, I was investing it back into the business. And so I'm not pressed about likes, right? Because I know the quality of what is being built when it hits where it's supposed to hit, Lake Kim, the sky is the limit. The sky is the absolute limit. But while you're building, you don't want to draw attention to the building part of it. You just want to keep working, building the connections, building the relationships, knowing who to talk to, knowing what to do, knowing when to pull back. And I have 5 damn employees. Who the hell knew? I wasn't trying to, right? So I know that there's a responsibility that comes with all of that. So I'm so grateful. Oh, someone shot Viola says, I have shared this with 6 people. Yeah, keep sharing these conversations. Like, let people know because there's so many brothers who are walking around out here thinking they can't and that they followed the same, what's the word that I'm looking for, Lay Kim? They follow the same path that they've seen other people follow. And they
Correct.
move in a space where um Dennis says, we can talk. Andrea, he has a couple of books out there too. You didn't say that part.
Correct, correct. Yeah. So to your point, like you said, I try to show a lot of humility, to where
Mhm.
I only share as much, so that way people, the more they learn with me, the more they'll see. So
Mhm.
also on the website, when as your listeners are going to the website,
Mhm.
I've written three business growth books on my website that anyone could get completely free.
Let me,
So
did you say free? Let me tell you something. There's a
yeah,
man here by the name of Dennis. I know what Dennis does. Dennis is going to do something just from hearing this conversation. I'm not even going to tell you what Dennis does because then everybody be like, can I talk to him? Can I? Nope, that's not what this is about. You have to show a level of incentive and capability for me to introduce you to. So Dennis, once I get his information, I'm going to share it with you. Dennis can have you around the country having these
yes,
conversations with business leaders, right?
absolutely.
This is the stuff that is absolutely important. It's important. I love this. Listen, I'm going to be late for the gym, but late Kim, you were absolutely worth it. And whatever the torture that I get for being late to the gym is going to be absolutely worth it today. My brother, I
Yeah,
am super proud of you. I look forward to working with you. I'm going to connect you with a few people. I'm going to come to a couple of your workshops.
yes,
And really hope that our conversation has inspired some young person or even the not so young, because it's never too late to start all
correct.
over again. It's never too late to start a business that you know is going to do what needs to be done. Um, I am an impact investor and a connector, right? So my role has been my entire life to connect people, even from the time when I was climbing the coconut tree and cutting down the coconut because my parents didn't want me to do it and I got in trouble. Or the woman who was in front of us because we lived in a beautiful development outside of Kingston called Bridgeport. And the woman was walking
Yeah,
around in a
yeah,
half slip and nobody would talk to her, like him. And I
yep,
would go outside and have great conversations with her. And everybody's like, she's crazy. I didn't see her as crazy. I saw her as someone who was unique. Years later, my oldest son was standing at the gate in that same spot talking to her. Nobody else would talk to her. She would come over, Alex, you all right? So you just never know how your kindness navigates and moves through the years. We cannot be we just can't be selfish. right? We have to
Hmm.
realize that we're all interconnected on some level, in some way. And how you show up in this world is how you will be received when you need the help the most. I'm done talking because I just, pleasure,
I
my
love
young brother.
this.
Pleasure, pleasure. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Thank you guys so much. And again,
Mhm.
remember, for anyone, you could just go to lakimjamescoaching.com or just Google me. I'm the only Lakim James that I've ever met. So if you just type in Lakim James on Google, you'll see everything that pops up about me. So that would be awesome.
Yes. Thank you so much, my brother. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye bye. Bye bye. It is almost 8 o'clock, y'all. I'm just gonna kick my tail. Thank you, thank you, Julie. As they can get off, I gotta run. I literally have to run out of here, put on my gym clothes, and run out of here. And Viola says I'm 78, but still learning life. It is important. This platform is not about playing. This platform is not about let me just throw up some news or do the latest thing or do something for clicks or whatever. This platform is meant to impact each and every one of you in some way, in some small way. So we're growing slowly but surely, but we're growing. Love to all of you. This episode of Mornings with Mother is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye bye. You're welcome, Julie. All right, on the site now. Yes, honey. The folks are yes. You're all out here saying the thing. This makes my heart sing. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye, everybody.